The supreme, profound, and sublime Dharma is difficult to encounter in a billion eons. Now I see it, hear it, receive it, and kept it. I vow to attain the true meaning of the Tathagata. In order to liberate all sentient beings, let us generate the supreme bodhicitta. Well, the next part is on the Pith Instruction, on the actual practice of Dzogchen. In regard to the actual practice of Dzogchen, generally speaking, the teachings can be categorized into gyu, long, and ngak. Well, I assume most of you are advanced Vajrayana practitioners and have already gained some meditative experience in the actual practice of Pith Instructions, because at that time, many of them reported or told Phuntsok Rinpoche, and majority of the practitioners were rather senior practitioners. So Phuntsok Rinpoche said that I will focus on the section of upadesha, the Pith Instructions, to briefly talk about this aspect of Dzogchen practice. There are two paths of training in the section of Pith Instructions, trekchö and tögal. Translated as cutting through and direct crossing over, the path of trekchö emphasizes on the ground of original purity, cutting through as the path, and dissolution of all substance into particles as the fruition. And then the path of tögal emphasizes on the spontaneous presence as the ground, directly crossing over as the path, and the achievement of rainbow body as the fruition. In fact, the tögal was not taught in this center. And then the ground path and fruition of both trekchö and tögal are talked about over here. Is it raining? So the two Pith Instructions. Well, this part, what Phuntsok Rinpoche talked about, is rather very profound. I think it's okay for you to read it, but if you were to practice it, if you were to practice any of these things included in the book, you have to receive empowerment, as I stated in the preface, because the trekchö and tögal practice are very profound Vajrayana teachings. But Phuntsok Rinpoche give the teaching specifically requiring for empowerment. Well, the teachings, you can also find it from the Purni House of Dega and so on. That is why this time I give a special permission for you to see it. However, you cannot practice it if you don't have the empowerment and direct pointing out. Now, first of all, for the view, trekchö ascertains that all phenomena of appearances, existence, universe, and beings are fundamentally the illusory manifestation of the mind, and that the mind itself is beyond birth, abiding, and cessation, having the nature of emptiness like the open space. This is the view. Now, both of them takes the view, meditation, conduct, and result that correspond to a trekchö, and this is the view part. everything is simply mind, and the mind itself is beyond birth, abiding, cessation, having the nature of emptiness, just like open space. Everything is of mind, and the nature of mind is just like how it is stated in Madhyamika Avatara, as well as the rest in the mind. They're just like space. You cannot obtain it. Now, in terms of the instructions, there are two methods of recognizing this view, through the practice of shamatha and through that of vipassana. In the first case, the view is approached through the effort in meditation. This mainly follows the Kagyu lineage, meaning that one starts with a single-pointed shamatha meditation, makes a gradual progress on the four yogas of Mahamudra, and applies the Pith instruction of stillness, movement, and clear awareness to eventually recognize the nature of mind. This is the essential teaching of Mahamudra in the Kagyu lineage. While sometimes when we look at such instruction just naturally flow out of Phuntsok Rinpoche's wisdom, it is really amazing for people after studying for many years and then reading this. We can definitely feel how quite sometimes we feel quite awestruck reading this, such concise and very spontaneous instruction. So the two instructions given, and then generally speaking, the Kagyu tradition emphasizes on the 6 yogas of Naropa and the path of Upaya, and the instruction of Mahamudra on the path of liberation. Meanwhile, there are many unique, profound instructions given in this tradition, such as the special teachings elaborated by Karma Chakme Rinpoche in his Mountain Dharma, which are necessary for practitioners to study. This is through the instruction of shamatha. Now, through Mahamudra, it is usually through the practice of abiding of shamatha meditation. The second is to approach meditation through the view. This mainly follows the general guidance in the Nyingma tradition that first enables one to realize the very nature of mind as unborn, non-abiding, and unceasing, and then guides the practitioner to meditate on this view by applying the skillful methods of settling the mind. Nowadays, most Nyingma masters give teachings on the nature of mind in this way. This is called through the instruction of shamatha, of vipassana. While Phuntsok Rinpoche give teachings in both of the Nyingma and Mahamudra and the Kagyu tradition, because the center proclaims that they follow both of the traditions, so sometimes both of the Nyingma and Kagyu. But I think this explanation is so explicit and very important, so that you know the difference of the two approaches. Indeed, many practitioners who follow the Nyingma or Kagyu tradition prefer to combine these two methods in their actual practice, or when instructing the others in their practice. To realize the ultimate view of the two methods, the crucial point is to understand that the very nature of mind is none other than emptiness. This is what the Vajrayana teachings refer to as the Great Mother Prajna Paramita. This then corresponds to the practice upon the syllable A. As a matter of fact, the Great Middle Way, the Great Seal, which is Mahamudra, and the Great Perfection Dzogchen, these three greats share the same essential view of the unborn nature of mind. Even in the Zen tradition, they also speak of the nature of mind is already pure. The nature of mind is without ceasing, without birth or cessation. The nature has the nature of luminosity. So all of these are based on the understanding of emptiness as well. And based on emptiness, then you recognize the luminosity. Now, many great Nyingma scholars ascertained this view from the various aspects, but here I would like to quote the teaching from the third Karmapa Renjun Dorje. In one of his prayers, the Karmapa said, "The absence of mental engagement is Mahamudra. The freedom from extremes is the great middle way. Since here all is included, this too is the great perfection. May I acquire the confidence of knowing one and realize all. Now we need to know the three grades. This particular quotation from the third Karmapa Rinjun Dorje is really wonderful. I memorized it back in 1985. I was very interested in this particular quotation, so I wrote it down and then tried to memorize it. Back then, I think memorization was easy, but now it takes me more effort. So over here, he points out that based on the Great Seal, the Great Middle Way, and great perfection, he then made the aspiration, may I acquire the confidence of knowing one and realizing all. Ponzong Rinpoche used the quotation of Kagyus to speak of Ati. Then the first part is on the view, and then the second part is meditation. It is through meditative practice that one can go beyond conceptual or discursive thought and abide without a grasping the state of realization and awareness, with awareness of the view. Again, many great scholars and accomplished masters in Nyingma tradition give detailed teachings in this regard. I would like to share the teaching from Karma Chakme Rinpoche. He said, now turn inward and observe your own mind. You may recognize that mind exists nowhere and is the nature of emptiness. Abide in that state of emptiness and relax at ease, as that is the practice of Mahamudra. Other than this, there is no other practice called Mahamudra. In this teaching, Karma Chakme Rinpoche brought up the view and the meditation of Mahamudra. So Chakme Rinpoche speaks of meditation from this aspect. This is the practice of Mahamudra. This is a very profound, direct pointing out of nature of mind. Each of those quotations, I though don't have enough time to explain too much, but they're so crucial on the path. Now, Mahamudra itself is a teaching that seals all of the phenomena into emptiness, because there is nothing in the world that is not empty. So, from this perspective, the Mahamudra can seal all the phenomena. But from the other way around, nothing can seal the Mahamudra, because emptiness can predominate everything, but not the other way around. When it comes to the practice, then he continued to say that when we observe our mind and pay full attention to it, in the very moment we'll discover its very empty nature, and that is the view. As we recognize the view clearly and distinctively, we abide in it in a relaxed manner without forgetting it. That is meditation. Although Mahamudra seals all phenomena that encompass both samsara and nirvana, nothing can seal Mahamudra itself. From this perspective, we can say that all phenomena in samsara and nirvana are none other than Mahamudra, and knowing that is the meditation. Third, for the conduct, no matter what kind of thought arises in the mind, either good or bad, one needs to recognize its essence and nature. Through that, realization can be enhanced and the level of practice improved. There are many teachings on this within the Tantra and Upadesha instructions of the Nyingma tradition, but nevertheless, I'd like to share with you what Karma Chakme Rinpoche taught in his Mountain Dharma. He taught that when a favorable circumstances in accordance with one's wish occurs, observe its nature, and that will improve the practice. When an unfavorable condition occurs, such as illness, death, and being defamed, observe its nature, and that will greatly improve one's practice. But I don't think many people would be able to practice that. When people are going through unfavorable conditions such as illness, sickness, and death, and so on, they would feel that, why am I going through that? Why me? So when it comes to practice, it really is a very good criteria to see whether you progress along the path. All in all, never forget forget to practice throughout all times, such as walking, abiding, sitting, and lying down, so that you can stabilize realization in daily life. That is called conduct. Well, the ones who are excellent at practice, then whatever kinds of obstacles that they go through, not only that they do not forget about their practice and realization, rather their realization would increase. Now, this is the conduct of fourth. As a result, this can be posited by the following just Milarepa's teaching. Venerable Milarepa then quoted, and I think it's absolutely charismatic of Phuntsok Rinpoche that he could quote this so spontaneously. Whenever it is our time to write anything or to give a speech, it takes us a tremendous amount of time to do research and so on. Especially, we have to take in consideration that Phuntsok Rinpoche was speaking and having translations as well. And then when it is consecutive translation, it is very easy to forget about the logical line, but maybe a little bit better when it is done in simultaneous. But consecutive, definitely it would be easy to break the whole framework of the logic. For those of you who study the five treatises, you can test yourself whether you would be able to give teachings like such. If you can, then raise up your hand. We don't have to sleep. We can listen to your teaching too. Milarepa then over here said that inside I suffer from the sickness of Dzogchen, and outside I suffer from the sickness of Mahamudra. Not only do I experience the pain of the two sicknesses, I will even die because of them. Well, from the surface of the words, it seems that Milarepa is really ill. But what he meant is that Milarepa says that recognizing the unborn nature of mind is the realization of Dzogchen. Abiding in the state of realization without any movement is the practice of Mahamudra. And joint practice of both Dzogchen and Mahamudra not only leads to the elimination of all negative thoughts that are temporary like sickness, but also makes it easier to swiftly attain the ultimate state of Buddhahood that is expressed metaphorically as death, meaning the death of samsara. Oh, now we understand the sickness of Milarepa. There are different kinds of songs of Milarepa, where it says that the inside is nailed with the Mahaati and outside is nailed with the Mahamudra, and the blood of so-and-so comes from the mouth. There are dohas of Milarepa like such. So that is my brief explanation of the view, meditation, conduct, and result concerning the path of trekchö. The upadesha instructions for actual practice following the Nyingma tradition, and all the authentic references I have cited are from the Kagyu tradition. And then I remember that we were very nervous at the time, because sometimes the disciples would say that we're Nyingma, and the other would say that we're Kagyu. We were quite nervous. Well, the Westerners don't really have that clear kind of distinction of schools, but still we were a bit anxious about it. For myself, I came from a Nyingma center to your Kagyu center, and from your side, you have been studying and practicing the Kagyu teachings and now have the chance to follow the uncommon teaching in the Nyingma tradition for your advanced practices. Phuntsok Rinpoche came directly from Marpa House and then to the Long Hawk farm, where some said that it was also a Nyingma center, but practices Kagyu as well. So Phuntsok Rinpoche over here said that I come from a Nyingma center to a Kagyu center, so I'm teaching both of the Kagyu and Nyingma traditions together. Milarepa's biography also states of that. Some of the great noble ones, they can change all kinds of circumstances, and everything would be transformed and changed into their skillful means. Given this auspicious coincidence, I present my teachings by combining two traditions together. Pansukul Rinpoche over here says that now many of you said that you're studying the Kagyu, but now you have the opportunity to study the uncommon practice of Nyingma. And Rinpoche requested to have the teaching on the Nyingma direct Pith Instructions. A few years ago, he said that he kept this teaching for 20, 30 years and then contemplated again and again. He thought to keep it for himself, but then in order to benefit the others, he then shared this teaching on his website. He kept this teaching and practiced it for so many years. From certain aspect, we can see that Dzogchen Rinpoche definitely had a great faith to the Mahaati as well as the Pansukul Rinpoche. So Pansukul Rinpoche then said that one more reason for me to present the teaching in this way, that Nyingma and Kagyu lineage are so strongly connected to each other, completely different from other lineages of attainment. As I mentioned earlier, the peerless Gompopa was the emanation of Pamasambhava, and then the second Karmapa Pakshi, the reincarnation of the first Karmapa Dusam Kimpa, was the guru for the Mongol emperors. Karma Pakshi in Chinese language, usually they would say Karma Pakshi, but Pakshi was the name and Karmapa is the title, so Karma Pakshi. And then he said, sometimes I am Pamasambhava and sometimes I am the Mahasiddha Saraha. So he himself admitted clearly that he was the emanation of Pamasambhava. And speaking of the third Karmapa, Renjun Dorje, if you want to study the four collections of Nyingtik in Nyingma tradition, you must rely on Renjun Dorje's words and teachings because he was one of the gurus of omniscient Longchenpa. That's how Kagyu is, or Karmapa is related to Nyingma school as well. And then Karma Chakme Rinpoche's guru was Mingyur Dorje. The Paoyu lineage master and revealer of Namcho teachings, and his disciple was Rinzin Kunzang Sherab, a great lineage master of Paoyu school, the first throne holder of Paoyu monastery. So we can say Karma Chakme Rinpoche belongs to both Nyingma and Kagyu schools. Looking at all these great lineage masters, it is clear to us that Nyingmapa and Kagyupa have been closely related throughout history. This is why my teaching today was based on both traditions. Well, this particular speech and this particular teaching revealed so many great commonalities between Kagyu and Nyingma. Now continue on. I assume the qualifications are necessary for your main practice have been included in the view, meditation, conduct, and the result for the trekchö path. Isn't that correct? As for the second path of tögal, the actual practice of direct crossing over, I will not be giving the subject this time, but I will make prayers that we will meet again in this life. But if not, may we reunite in Pure Land of Sukhavati, and at that time I will give you the extensive teachings on the spontaneous presence. In order to create an auspicious condition to make it happen, I will now conclude here.